This segment is brought to you by Muse Tavern.
Muse Tavern is one of the biggest supporters of URI basketball.
And David Cox, the head coach of the men's basketball team, has some of his coaches' shows right from the Muse Tavern.
I had the chance to catch up with David Cox about his expectations for his debut season.
For the last 2 consecutive seasons, the Rhode Island men's basketball team have made a run in the NCAA tournament, both times making it to the round of 32. In 2017, they won the A-10 championship, and this past year, the A-10 regular season title. All of this under head coach Dan Hurley, who had been with the program for 6 years. And when the season concluded, Dan left the university and continued his head coaching career at UConn, leaving the Rams under a new head coach. And that was the start of the David Cox era.
It's been a dream of mine for over 20 years to be a Division I head coach. This is my dream job. And I'm honored and humbled to be named the head coach of the University of Rhode Island men's basketball team. Humbled and honored.
This role a dream of his for as long as he and his family could remember.
And I said, what do you want to do with your life? And we were 17 years old. And he said, I want to be a collegiate coach, a head coach. And I said, okay.
5 years old, he started playing sports, of all sports, and this is what it ends up being. Yes, we're now in history, living in history.
Not only was Coach Cox taking on a brand new job as head coach, but also an extremely young team consisting of 4 freshmen and only 1 senior. And while this did make his job 10 times harder, it also added new leadership roles to younger players on the team.
Leaders with their voices, but leaders with their body language as well. You know, those freshmen look up to those guys. Those guys have been through the fire. So everything that they do, everything that they say, and the manner in which they do it, and the manner in which they say it, goes a long way.
A lot more learning going on with these practices because we're young. And we had to teach a lot of fundamentals and slow the pace of practice down. So we're just starting to pick it up a little bit.
The start of the 2018 season has been a learning experience for the young players and Coach Cox himself, but with the strength of this program, a bright future is ahead.
Very patient guy and a great teacher and a great player development. So he understands where we're coming from, and we looked at him for not just basketball, but like personal problems too. So
we got a young group of guys in here, and a lot of people, we just have to prove ourselves. So that's what we're trying to do.
And maybe after a big roadie win, we'll find David Cox over at Muse Tavern to grab a bite to eat.
And while Coach Cox is at the helm of this ship here in Kingston, Rhode Island, he is accompanied by veteran coaches alike to help him mold this young team.
Coach John Carroll is a new assistant here in Rhode Island, and he brings 40 years of coaching experience, including a stint as the interim head coach of the Boston Celtics. As another basketball season is starting to heat up in Kingston, Rhode Island, the men's team is strikingly young with only 2 seniors on the team, which means good coaching is the key to success this season, and URI has brought in one of the most experienced coaches in New England, John Carroll, a former head coach for the Boston Celtics.
It was exciting, it was difficult, you learn a lot, you make mistakes, unfortunately, and you grow from those mistakes. And it's like anything in life, you work hard, you do a lot of good things, you do some things that you need to grow and learn from, and luckily or hopefully you get another situation.
This year, the A-10 conference is filled with great players all around that will make it tough for URI to reclaim the title. But that's why Coach Carroll was brought here. He was an assistant coach under 3-time NBA champion P.J. Carlesimo at Seton Hall, and was a part of a team that shocked many by making the 1989 championship game even after having the best player declared for the draft the year before.
I was really lucky. It was the early stages of the Big East, and there were some great players, Chris Mullin, Patrick Ewing. It was hard to win. For some reason we lost our best player to the NBA and came back the following year, went to the Final Four. How that happened, I'm still not sure, but we did have some really, really good players. John Morton scored, I think, 35 in the championship game against Michigan.
Now and going to force Michigan to chase. Morton, and got another one.
And if that experience isn't enough to help this team, Coach Carroll was also the interim coach of the Boston Celtics in 2003.
I had a lot of fun. I got a chance to coach Paul Pierce over those 40 games, and I learned a lot, and I grew up as a coach.
At the end of the day, what URI men's basketball has gained most is the wisdom that only a coach with 40 years of experience can bring.
It's the same as anything in life. You learn, you grow, you develop. As long as you're willing to keep getting better and not be afraid of making mistakes, because if you don't make any mistakes, you're never going to fail, and you're never going to grow, and you're never going to get any better.
John Carroll is also joined by Kevin Sutton on the team as first-year assistant coaches.
These two first-year assistant coaches look to help Coach Cox develop this young team.
And TJ Buchanan is a former URI basketball player, and now he's sitting on the bench in a suit instead of a uniform. I talk with Buchanan about his revived role in the team, as well as his position as Director of Basketball Operations. TJ Buchanan is the Rhode Island Rams Director of Basketball Operations and was a former URI basketball player. Buchanan left a lasting legacy on the court and is excited to continue that success while coaching.
It's amazing, and it's a great feeling, man. I put a lot of hard work into this place and on this court, and to be able to teach some of these guys about the history of this program and what it takes to win. It's a great feeling.
Buchanan played for the Rhode Island Rams from 2011 to 2015. He was a 2-year captain under Dan Hurley. Last season, he joined the Rhode Island coaching staff as the Director of Player Development.
As Director of Player Development, was more just trying to develop these guys on and off the court. So more so off the court, and just teaching them what it takes to be successful and how hard you need to work in the classroom and on the court. And
this year, Buchanan was promoted to Director of Basketball Operations. Here he is involved in the scheduling and recruiting process, as well as getting really valuable experience in the college basketball realm.
It's fun. It's a learning experience. I'm glad I get to go through it at a young age, because I know it's a lot of people out there that would die to have my job and die to be in this position, so I don't take it for granted.
Buchanan always had an idea that he would come back to coach, and is happy that it's here in Rhode Island.
Stayed in constant contact with Coach Hurley, who's now at UConn, and we continue to build our relationship and keep our friendship that we had from when I was here playing for him. And once the opportunity presented itself, him and Coach Cox, they gave me a call and explained my role and if I wanted to take it or not, and I was all in for it.
Buchanan works every day to get better at his job and work on the relationships he's created within the program.
Every day I just try to continue to work my relationships with our players, with our coaching staff, and everybody that's part of our athletic department.
TJ is excited about his future as a basketball coach.
Keaney Lambert, the new Director of Operations for the women's team, also comes from a unique background.
Having worked for some of the best organizations in Texas, such as TCU, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Dallas Cowboys, she sure has a lot to offer here at URI.
I had the opportunity to sit down with Keaney and hear her story.
I think that growing up, none of my family were sports people, so I didn't really get that support to be able to actually play, nobody to really work with me. So I think track and cheering was something that came a little bit more naturally, so I actually just cheered so I could be around ball. Director of Basketball Operations is basically everything you see that doesn't happen on the court. That's everything that I'm a part of. So travel anywhere from nutrition to fans in the stands to, marketing plans. I help with all of that. This is a brand new women's basketball, it's just as fast paced, it's just as exciting. It's a very intense kind of game minus the dunking. So you really get just about everything you could get at a guys game.
This season is not only her first season working with a women's team, but also her first season here at the University of Rhode Island.
I came to URI because Dania and I are actually really good friends. I started off at FSU. Her son plays basketball for Florida State, and I actually worked there for about 4 years. And when the opportunity for a Director of Basketball Operations role came up, I definitely wanted to take it. It was kind of the next step in my career for me.
Although Keaney is very happy here at the University of Rhode Island, it took a lot of work to get to where she is today.
I was actually really poor for a very long time. Being a female in this industry, it's really, really difficult. So I took a lot of internships. I worked for free a lot for a long time. I got my first position at Clark Atlanta University in their sports information department. Always knew that I wanted to work in the pros, and my mentor at the time, her name is Ann Little. She was like, if you want to make it to the pros, you have to like hurry up and get there now. Got in my car, literally drove all the way to Texas, and I guess I did a pretty good job with the Mavs because he was like, hey, why don't you come over here and work with us? And I was like, who is us? And he was the Dallas Cowboys, and I was like, score! When you love what you do, nothing really feels like work. It just kind of gets a little hectic here and there, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Keaney Lambert is living proof that hard work and perseverance really does pay off.
At the helm of the women's team is Danielle LaForce. In her 5th season here at URI, she's excelled. I sat down with her to talk about her success here.
I was an assistant coach at Long Island University to get my graduate degree in school psychology. And when I finally got my graduate degree, I knew I didn't want to take that route anymore. And it was mainly because of the player-coach relationship that I developed with the players that I was an assistant coach with. And that's why I decided to become a head coach. I no longer wanted to do or pursue being a school psychologist. I really wanted to be a basketball coach and a head coach at that.
After stops in New Haven and Northeastern, she came to Rhody where she turned the program around. LaForce's coaching mindset isn't just about going by the book. She wants her players to motivate and believe in themselves just as much as she does.
So my task as a head coach was really to focus more on the intangibles of winning, such as teamwork, team chemistry, work ethic, just the little things that people really don't pay particular attention to. When it comes to rebuilding a program, they're all worried about the X's and O's and the talent, but that's never enough unless you have the winning mindset and you're willing to bond and be a family and do all the little things it takes to really have success on the court.
The women's basketball team recently won the Ocean State Tip-Off, the first time they won in the 3 years they've participated. For Coach LaForce, this is more than just a win.
It was an amazing feeling. I mean, we have obviously been a part of this tournament for 3 years, and the last 2 years we've been knocked out the first round, and we were just tired of it. So it just came full circle. We knew we are going to be a great team this year, and to prove it to our state first and foremost before we prove it nationally, I think is where we really wanted to be. I want to take this program to the NCAA tournament. We're in a great conference, the Atlantic 10. It's a conference where we really can make it to the top of the league and, really sustain ourselves as one of the premier programs in that league year in and year out.
Dania isn't the only one in her family in D1 sports. Her son, Terrence, is a guard at the Florida State University and is projected to go in the first round of the NBA draft.
Terrence was pretty much born and raised in the gym. I mean, he would be at my basketball practices when he was a toddler, just running around. And, when we went on road trips, I was fortunate to work with head coaches that would allow me to bring him and his brother on road trips. So they would be in the back of the bus with the players, playing games. And he thinks like a coach. He acts like a coach. And I think coaches want players like that.
Up next on the Keaney Blue Chronicles Basketball Edition, find out about the URI basketball player who traveled a long way to find a new home.
Also, the unexpected success story of the campus tour guide turned walk-on. We'll be back on the Keaney Blue Chronicles Basketball Edition.
Since 1969, when Dave Cesario decided he was going to open a fruit stand where he could sell fruit and produce to the local people in Warwick, Rhode Island, called Dave's Fruitland, to today, when Dave's Marketplace has an outstanding reputation for quality products and superior customer service, the journey has been rewarding. Throughout the years, Dave's Marketplace has shown continued growth in both number of employees and sales. Congratulations!